Good Sunday afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Welded Media. I am your host, Nick, and I hope you all had a great Sunday if you're watching this on the day this comes out. If you did, I hope you went to church, as lots of people have been doing in the wake of Charlie Kirk's death. But it's a good day. It's a weekend. Take some time, chill, go to church, do good things, relax, and get ready for the week, as I'm sure we're going to have plenty of big news coming out, especially out of us. But we got some today, even on the day of rest, from C3 on X. Tyler Robinson's neighbor being interviewed. You can tell the media does not want him saying Tyler and Lance Twiggs were a couple. Lance Twiggs, if you don't know, has been showing up in the news. It's reported that he was the roommate and transgender partner, male transitioning to female, of Tyler Robinson, the killer of Charlie Kirk. But Robinson's and Twiggs' neighbors said random guys don't hold hands and they definitely don't kiss, as you'll see later in this interview, and that shut them up quick, referring to the media. You'll see in this clip the media and the news people, they don't like what Robinson's neighbor has to say. So props to Josh Kemp for putting his face out there and speaking what he saw, speaking the truth, and giving more light and information on this case. So let's get to the clip and find out.
With him.
Were they holding hands?
Yeah, they were. So, yeah, they drove off in his car, the Dodge Challenger.
The time you saw them or this week?
It was about the time I saw them, so.
How long ago was that?
I would say about 2 weeks ago.
And so they look like they were a couple?
Yeah. Yeah.
And he was
Tyler
dressed
Robinson
like
on the
Yeah,
screen right now.
definitely.
that? And you thought he was weird?
Yeah, I definitely, yeah.
What was weird about him?
Just the way he walked and just the way I've seen him. I've never seen really anybody dressed all in black with a mask on, and I thought that was just quite weird.
For those who've never seen the roommate, describe that person for us.
He did have freckles on his face. For the haircut, he did have, it was a weird haircut. I can't quite, it was kind of a mushroom shaped one. Yeah, he was, I would say, he didn't come out much, but definitely a few other, like, just a little bit at a time.
There's some published reports out there that this individual, the roommate, may have been transitioning. Did that correlate with what you saw?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so he was going to have an operation to be to turn into a woman.
Yeah, and I think he was getting ready for that.
Sorry, in what way do you think that?
I remember them talking about a doctor's appointment. It was about 2 weeks ago, I would say.
And they were kissing?
Yeah.
Do you know, where did you see them kissing?
Just coming out. I was riding with my bike, so I didn't see the whole thing, but yeah, I saw them.
And when did you hear them talking about a doctor's appointment?
I would say about the same time that they came out, so that one time, yeah.
And where were you standing for that?
I was just riding by here.
Okay.
So,
And you were able to hear snippets of their conversation?
yeah, yep.
But you were sure that they were a couple, but you have only seen them together once?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, random guys don't hold hands and definitely don't kiss, so.
Just real quick, what that reporter said there. How she was supposed to be reporting the news, just telling it how, or asking questions, at least here on the ground in an interview. I guess a somewhat valid question, but she says,
The way, random guys don't hold hands. In the way,
Together once?
Mm-hmm.
Conversation?
Yeah, yep.
But you were sure that they were a couple, but you have only seen them together once?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So she asked him, "You sure they were a couple, but you only saw them once?" And then it goes on to say, random guys don't just, they don't hold hands like that, and they definitely don't kiss, right? It's really interesting, and a lot of the media I've been seeing on X have just been, just saying like, oh, we don't really know, the whole story, even though their own neighbor gave their interview, and so they're like, oh, how could you know they were a couple? You only saw them together once, ignoring what he just said even before that. about them kissing, about them holding hands, about them living together, about them obviously being intimate, being close, and media, especially left-leaning media as of recent, has just been trying to hide from the truth that Robinson was generally, as we know so far, left-wing. He was dating a man transitioning to a woman, a transgender. He was confirmed by his friends, by his classmates, by his family, that he was most certainly left-wing. He was getting into left-wing politics a lot more recently in the past few years, and the media is just trying to push this not just off of them, but onto people like myself, people like Crowder, people like Fuentes, people like Alex Jones, whatever, who are not even close to involved in this situation, and saying the killer was right wing. He was MAGA because his family was, so obviously that must be. And I think it's just the dumbest argument I've ever heard, because though my parents are both generally conservative, though they're not necessarily in the news, they're just kind of run of the mill. My grandparents on my father's side are both, especially my grandmother, nope, not that doc her, she's a wonderful woman, she's a saint, really, are very left-leaning, they're very progressive, they're diehard for the Democratic Party, for liberals and progressives. And my father and my uncle, they're both their children, are as right-wing as, well, not right-wing as you can get, maybe my uncle, but my father is conservative. He supports Trump. He's supported Trump since, I believe, 2020. I think even back as far as like 2018. He didn't vote for him in 2016, but, and my uncle, same thing. And here I am. And it's like, well, obviously I must be left-wing because my grandparents were, so that must just trickle down, right? Or my parents must be because their grandparents were. That doesn't make any logical sense. And left-leaning media, left-leaning personalities on the internet, on the news and government are just trying to push this Tyler Robinson off of them and off of their politics as much as possible, because they don't like taking responsibility for, violent rhetoric. For the past 10 years, even back as far as Bush, but that wasn't as prevalent back then, Democrats and liberals and progressives have been calling Republicans, not even Republicans, just like conservative personalities or libertarians or populists, I've been calling them they're right-wing extremists, they're fascists, they're literal Nazis, they're racists, they're white supremacists, they're white nationalists, they're all these things, whatever. And they use little to no evidence to back these claims up, and they just keep saying it. And Tim Pool brought up a great point 2 nights ago, I think, on the cultural war. Go check it out if you don't. Tim Pool is a great man. He does great stuff. I'm talking about, how it's like a mental disorder or delusion that a lot of people on the left have now. He says, like, imagine if for 10 years you told people through news, through politicians, through any form of popular media, that Santa Claus is real and he wants to kill you. You can't see him, you can't see him or hear him, but Santa Claus is real and he wants to kill you. And imagine telling people that for 10 years, and especially if you're the news, if you're politicians, people give you credence and they say, well, this person must be trustworthy, they must have my best interests. Obviously, Santa Claus is real, is real and wants to kill me, because, the person who is more credible than myself said so, right? And so replace that with, people on the right are fascists. This person is a fascist. They're a Nazi. They're a white supremacist. They're evil. They're racist. They're basically devil incarnate, except, most people on the left don't believe in the devil, but evil incarnate. And people believe it, and so when you say that, right-wingers are more violent than left-wingers, as a media, and you say that obviously there's right-wing violence and that Charlie wasn't far right enough, even though they say that Charlie was also far extreme right, but they say that he also wasn't far right enough, and that's why Robinson killed him, and not because Robinson was a lefty, not because he, was part of Antifa, was in Antifa groups, was dating a transgender, people who date transgenders and people who associate with transgenders a lot, as much to be roommates with them, are generally more left-leaning, right? Robinson has all these signs that he's on the left, and at the end of the day, it doesn't necessarily matter. At the end of the day, Robinson's a terrible human being. He killed an innocent man, and should be punished for it. Some say death penalty, some say life, whatever. But what matters, it wouldn't be an issue as if it was politics necessarily if there wasn't as pushed nonstop by the mainstream news, by mainstream lefty and Democrat personalities saying he was on the right, he's not with us, and you guys need to watch your rhetoric. The people who the most violent thing that the right generally has done, as a collective as a whole, was January 6th, which they aspire as the worst right of all time, and just ignoring the entire year of 2020 where people burnt down auto zones because George Floyd was killed, and in the name of Black Lives Matter and in the name of hating Donald Trump. But we'll ignore that, fine. And then they've been bringing up the Minnesota killings, those two representatives that were killed, assassinated, really. And people say, oh, that was right-wing violence, right? But if I'm correct, those two representatives, they voted on the side of the Republicans. They crossed party lines to vote against abortion. And the left says, oh, they were killed by a right-winger. Why would the right-winger kill someone who supports his, if he's on the right wing, his ideals, his morals of going against abortion, right? It makes no logical sense. The person who killed them was just really a schizophrenic man. He was a crazy man. If anything, it would show that he would be left-leaning. Same thing here as Robinson. If someone is killed and they're in the political space, such as Kirk or such as those two representatives, and I hate using deaths to argue. I hate arguing over people's deaths and tragedies like these. It's awful because they shouldn't be dead. They shouldn't have had to die, or they didn't have to. That never should have happened. It's so awful. But these people were killed, and people argue about why they were killed and why the killer killed them, and it's like just using logical path points. If these people are on the right, generally they're being killed by people who don't like the right and would be on the left, right? That's the most logical conclusion. Here with Kirk, here with those representatives, here with the shooter of Trump, and you even saw it with Thomas Matthew Crooks, who shot Trump. He wore that Demolition Ranch shirt, and all of a sudden, immediately people are like, oh, look, he was on the right because he wore a Demo Ranch shirt. It's like, dude, he could be wearing that shirt for any fucking reason. It could be to pin on the right, and obviously someone on the right who's shooting Trump, why would they be shooting him other than he's like not far right enough? It's just ridiculous. It's the same argument here with Charlie Kirk. It just doesn't make logical sense, and we've seen people lying here. I don't know if I can find the image, but where was it, man? But it's this image of Tyler Robinson wearing it's him in I don't know if it's his college dorm room or one of his rooms or whatever, but it's him in a room in front of his bed and by a computer or whatever, and he's wearing like jeans, Converse, and I think a hat and a red shirt, just a regular like plain maroon shirt here, and yeah, this image. So here's the original image by several news sources, by everyone, people here on X. It's him in some room, an image of him. He's wearing a red shirt and jeans, Converse shoes, a hat and glasses, right? And that's the original image. There's nothing suggesting any political affiliation with this image. And then you have this, which was posted by anonymous and is being shared by other people on Instagram, on X, Twitter, on Reddit, on Blue Sky, whatever. And it's a photoshopped image of him wearing a Trump Make America Great Again shirt. It's just the lying that a lot of people do here on the left that just destroys the truth. It destroys what our reality and what is actually happening, and it makes the conversation and debate so much more difficult. Because people are being lied to and saying, you're a liar, he was on the right. It was because Kirk wasn't far right enough. It's like, where are you getting this idea? Well, they're getting this idea from this image. They're getting this idea from from people on the news saying, well, we don't really know he was on the right. I mean, his neighbor only saw him kissing a guy one time, you know, for all we know he was on the right. I meant to say left earlier. You know, like, like we only saw him kissing the dude once. How do you know they were together? Like, maybe they're just experimenting, I guess. I don't know. That's, you know, I don't really swing that way. And I think most conservative people don't really swing that way. But, you know, here we are, I guess. But it's just lying and misinformation, man. And misinformation, a funny term, right? Historically, at least in the past 5-6 years. But the conversation and the debate is so much so much more difficult right now than it would have been 20-30 years ago, because you wouldn't have, you know, as wonderful as the internet is, it causes, you know, lies like this to spread and completely destroy the truth, destroy, you know, create false narratives, whatever. And it's just rough out there. It really is. So I encourage you, if you're seeing this video, to share this with everyone you know. I encourage you to, you know, if you know people who are more on the left, who maybe are indifferent about the Kirk killing, or people who are, you know, like I said, on the left, maybe not extreme on the left, but they're like, you know, they dabble in the news here or there, to show them this image, to show them the video of Robinson's neighbor, and to show them that the conversation of violence on both sides is over. The right has committed almost no political violence in the past decade, you know, besides the exception of January 6th. And I'll admit that was horrible, right? You know, people breaking into the White House, but people portray it as like this giant mob. We're going to overthrow the government. It was just people that are angry. And I think there was maybe like, in total, you could say like maybe like 100 people there who actually thought in their minds, we're going to overthrow the government. But most people who were there were just angry and upset about the election results. And they're like, well, fuck it. Other people are going to the Capitol. I guess I'll go walk around for a little bit. People were being towed around by the police, but whatever. We'll get into January 6th another day. It doesn't matter. What matters is that people are lying about who killed Charlie Kirk, why he was killed, and also about what Charlie Kirk stood for. And I encourage you, if you're watching this, if you're indifferent, congratulations for getting this far into the video. And also to watch Charlie Kirk's speeches. And if you know someone who doesn't like Charlie Kirk, ask them if they've seen his videos, and show them his videos. Ask them where they heard that he said these terrible things, you know, about black people, about gays, or whatever, and show them actual videos and clips of him speaking. You know, no one can say it better than the man who has left this earth himself, you know. So stay truthful out there. Stay engaged with the truth. You know, search for the truth. The truth only hurts you if you're lying, and if you're spreading lies, and if you believe lies. Just stay truthful. Stay blessed, and stay good, and stay informed is what I encourage all of you to do. Thank you for watching, and we'll have more coming up throughout the week here. Thank you.